You are listening to The Michael Lodge Show. Wealth, business, and taxes. Oh yeah, and some politics. Let's get started.
So let's get started. It's a beautiful, beautiful Monday morning. The sun is coming through the trees. The rabbits are hopping outside. Squirrels also scampering up the trees. But listen, it's a beautiful day. Beautiful part of the day to start the momentum of getting through life for one more day. Listen, I tell you, over the past few months, and especially this last week, politics has just gotten really dirty rotten. I mean, we might as well say that they're dirty rotten scoundrels, because they are. That's exactly who they are. They play the games, they go out and say something, and then when they do something, it's totally opposite of what they do. They say things that, oh, this is paid for, but we all know that it's not paid for. Oh, well, it is paid for by us, the taxpayer, because our taxes go up. We see the shenanigans of backroom deals and hiding and scampering off into dark rooms where they can talk to each other and make deals, and it never comes out good. This whole infrastructure deal is just a bunch of malarkey. My dad used to say that word a lot. Mike, don't tell me that. That's a bunch of malarkey. I guess he knew. I guess he was thinking that I was being very political or something. But listen, I think that we're fatigued. I think we're just all burned out. We're ready for Thanksgiving to come. We're ready for Christmas to come. I'm ready to put up my tree just to look at something that reminds me of a time of joining together as families and friends and enjoying life. I think that we're just fatigued. I'm tired. I am worn out by the politics. I want to tell you one other thing, and that is, we have gone through some really bad presidents. We have gone through some really bad Congress members, stupid ones, dangerous ones. But in the end, this nation always survives. Because we're stuck to our Constitution and the way that we want the Constitution to work. We all know that is the best option and the only option for this great nation to go forward. And no matter how bad the president may be and how stupid he may be, we always make it through. And I think that if we remember that fact, that we Americans are stronger than any politician, we're stronger than any political thought process. And we have the control of this nation. You and I, we do have the control, because when we go to that voting booth, those people are out. And so if we take into consideration that we will make it through all of this nonsense, we can enjoy our Thanksgiving. We can enjoy our Christmas. We don't have to listen to the mandates. We don't have to listen to the masking and all this other crapola. We can move forward and we can be human beings again. And I think if we have that in our heart, that we want to be Americans, we want to be families again, we want to be friends, we want to have that eggnog with a friend and talk about juicy gossip. If we think in that process, we're going to make it through. We are going to make it through. Remember, the experience that we are getting right now is making us stronger as Americans. And sometimes we need these wake-up calls to tell us, hey, you better get on the ball here. I'm doing my podcast, and there is this squirrel who's just sitting there watching me as I'm doing this podcast. I wish more squirrels would listen to me. All the squirrels out there, refer me a podcast. Refer people to my podcast. Come on, squirrels. You can do it. But I think you know what I'm talking about is that, we're bombarded by all of this politics every single day and everything. If you go send your kids to school, politics. If you go to the grocery store, politics. If you go to church, politics. We have engulfed our nation in politics so much that we have corrupted even ourselves at points. Because we get so entangled in this political thought process that we forget that America always survives. We always make it through. Because of you and me, of the way that we believe, what's in our heart, how America will survive is through you and me. So remember that as you're eating your turkey. Be thankful for that turkey leg, that stuffing. I don't know why Thanksgiving we have stuffing. Stuffing has never been a favorite of my life, but I keep making it every year because it's a tradition. And people do like stuffing. I've just never liked stuffing. I have to put a lot of stuff on, a lot of gravy to make that stuffing go down on me. Yep, that I wish I could take a picture right now. You could see this squirrel eating his nuts and staring at me. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoy this, Mrs. Squirrel. But remember, we are Americans and we are going to make this country, not politicians. Politicians are here today, gone tomorrow. Now, some of them have lasted way too long. They've been in office way too long. They need to go. They've made a career out of being a politician. It's time for them to go. That's why we need to really focus this next year on term limits. And I'm going to talk about that a lot through 2022 is term limits. But 2022 is also going to be a year that you and I, we work together and we think about ways of creating businesses, of creating better home lives, of creating a better place to live, of working within our communities. I've always told you from all of my political podcasts that I have done that the only change that you can make is through your local community. If you see bad things happening in your community, you can make a change if you group together. Look at the parents of Virginia. They changed the whole state government because they didn't want their schools telling them how they were going to teach their children. The parents got involved. And that's what parents are supposed to do. That's why you have PTAs, so that they get involved in what's happening in school. It's vital. My mom was always involved in what was happening with me in school. Sometimes I didn't like it, but I'm glad that she did. I'm glad she got involved in kids that needed a little bit of help getting pants and shoes and school supplies and everything else. Always raising money through fundraisers, trying to make sure that the kids were always taken care of, making sure that the teacher had the supplies she needed, making sure the books were bought. You see, back then when I was young, the parents really did get involved in their schools, and they got involved in the books that they were buying as teaching me and my sister in school. And that's the way it should be. It's the way it always has been. And for what has happened is that the schools have become political organizations. And that's where we get into trouble when politics is brought into the schools. It never should have happened. I have always been a fighter that politics should not be in schools and that religion should not be in schools. There needs to be a clear separation because as you can see what has happened in the law schools, a political doctrine has become a process. And the parents for so long have just remained quiet and were not paying attention to what was going on in the schools because they had trust. They placed their trust in these teachers and in these administrators. But politics got in. And now it's so difficult to get politics out. I tell you, there is a saying, and I believe it's Lenin. I can't remember if it was Lenin or Marx, but there's a statement out there by either one of those two men that said in order to make change in a government, you have to start with the very young in school. If you can give your message and sell them on this way of life, this thought process, you can control them. And that's what has happened in so many of our schools, is that politics, instead of reading, writing, and arithmetic and history and all that other stuff, now there's politics. And I remember it so very well. Back in the days that Trump was running against Hillary Clinton, and I was up at one of my friend's house in San Francisco. It was close to Thanksgiving and Christmas time. And as I was there, I was listening to the conversation with my friend's daughter, and they were talking about the politics and how bad Trump was and how evil he was. And I said, who told you that story about Trump and how evil he is? My teacher. I said, your teacher is telling you that Trump is bad? Who is she telling you to vote for? And they said, Clinton. And her attitude was evil, 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 evil. Clinton is evil, evil, evil. I mean, not Clinton, but Trump was evil, evil, evil. You could see it in their face. They had been indoctrinated by a teacher saying who was good and who was bad. See, history is supposed to teach us about history. And we have forgotten that fact of going back. I was watching a documentary, a very good documentary called The First Citizen. It was about George Washington's life. And I had never known this, but when George Washington was alive, he did not like slavery at all. He hated slavery. So, before he died, he wrote 2 wills. And one will said, when he dies, all the slaves would be free on his farm. Everyone was supposed to be free. I forget what was in the other will. Probably just a normal will, where life just went on as normal. After George Washington was done serving as president, he went back to his farm, and then he went on a trip to survey other land that was given to him during the war. And when he got back to his house, it had been raining really, really hard, and he didn't change his clothes, and he was meeting with people, and people were at the house, and they wanted to greet and meet him. And that night he became very, very sick. So sick that he was on death's bed. And he knew he was going to die, so he told his wife, I want you to go get me the 2 wills. Bring it here. And he brought it. And he took 1 will and he ripped it up. He says, this will that I did not rip up, this is the one I want you to give my attorneys. And that will was one where he released his slaves. He said, my gift, my dying, my belief in not having slaves ends today of slavery, in my household at least. A lot of people don't know that story. I didn't know that story. I know a lot about history, and I love history and studying it forwards and backwards and everything. But we get into these theories and race baiting and conflict and everything else, because I'm telling you, when you take politics and you mix it into a school situation, it creates conflict. And if you don't believe me, watch what is happening right now on so many different issues within the school boards, because they have allowed politics to take control of the decision-making process. And when that happens, it creates conflict. it creates disputes. Same thing happens in churches. Once politics becomes into the churches, it creates disputes, creates conflict. Church is no place where there should be conflict. Churches are places where if you have conflict, you can go to your brother and say, listen, I did this, and I want your forgiveness, and I think that you're doing wrongly in this, and let's talk about it and let's resolve it. But when you have politics in there, it becomes a gross situation because now God's word has been corrupted by politics. God's word should never be corrupted in any way, shape, or form. So if we remember all this, that no matter what, if we can remove politics out of our companies, out of these woke companies, if we can remove them out of the decision-making process of the leaders of these companies, out of the schools, out of the churches, remove the politics and you will have a much better life. And we have the ability, through our vote, to remove those politicians that create conflict within this nation. We have that ability. And we have to do it. That's our responsibility as citizens of this great nation. So I don't know about you. I have gotten my turkey, which was almost a college education, I think, in money spending. It was a lot of money to buy a turkey. Planning my menu, because I do all the cooking. I have done the cooking for years and years and years. When I lived in Los Angeles, I would get up at 5 a.m. and begin cooking. By the end of the day, I had over 50 people at the house, just sitting around eating and gossiping. The gossip was the best part. I tell you, when you have a turkey leg in your hand and a good gossip, that's the best part of life. If you remember that, you will really enjoy Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday of the year because it's that time where I can give back through a very simple process of cooking. So I'm cooking for my stepbrother. He's coming over, and I don't know who else will be coming over. But I'm going to cook, and I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to watch a football game. I might even watch a parade. But I'm going to enjoy a good Thanksgiving Day because that is a day that we are thinking about giving and giving back to somebody or to people and not having to worry about getting something. All that we have to do is sit there and laugh and joke and gossip and chica and all that other kind of stuff that goes along with Thanksgiving. We're not mad at anybody. No politics has ever entered into a turkey leg. We live a day without having to be harassed, thinking about conflict or thinking about anything else that brings tears to our eyes or stress to our hearts. We're there with our family and friends. Remember that. Don't listen to the politicians. They're a bunch of caca brains. Listen to your heart. Listen to your friends. And enjoy that day. I'm preparing for it. I tell you, I am getting my menu all ready to go. I'm testing out a few things with seasoning and everything because I tell you, I don't know what has happened, but my cooking ability has really gone bad. And I see a lot of blackness on my food lately. And I don't know if it's because when I was in Florida, I had a gas range and I was used to cooking on a gas range. I knew how to make everything cook well. Now I'm using electricity, and I have no idea how to control the heat on this thing. The oven that I have is a double-decker oven, but it's all computerized and it's internet-driven. I have never worked on a stove that's internet-driven. It even has a section on there that tells you if you should run the stove on the Sabbath. So I tell you, I haven't gotten used to, so I'm practicing. I'm not used to this stove yet, so I'm practicing just to make sure I know what I'm doing. Sometimes practice makes perfect, but who's perfect, so why practice, right? At least that's the saying of the old movie I saw in the Philippines one time. No one's perfect, so why practice? I'm not perfect. I know that. Gosh, people tell me that all the time. Mike, you're not perfect. You know God. All you are is a guy that sits there and tells us jokes and cooks for us. That's all. That's all of your responsibility, Mike. That's all you can do. And sometimes give good advice. Listen, if you like my content, if you like my podcast, if you like my vlogs and blogs that I do, you can get them all at www.buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge. Again, that's www.buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge. Go in there. You're going to see that I have been doing a series on starting a business, all the steps in starting the business. I'm not done yet. I have to do a few more today. I talk about leadership. I talk about management. I talk about taxation. I talk about all sorts of different things that affect you and I every single day. Sometimes I talk about politics if it affects our finances. If it affects our finances as a business or as an individual, I'm going to talk about politics. But most of the time, it's about a whole bunch of different subjects. So I've been doing two series. I've been doing one on starting a business and the other one is on life. And so far we have talked on the one on life. We've talked about pre-marriage mediation, pre-marriage counseling, pre-marriage sitting down and talking about the issues that's going to affect you during the marriage. Have I done another one since then? I need to do another one today. I'll do another one today on the life process. So what my point was going to be is on that series is to start from marriage to the process of when we actually die. Because I've been finding that a lot of my clients have not done their wills, have not done their health care directives, have not done their trusts or estates. They're just living on the edge. So we're going to talk about that. So stay tuned. I'm also going to talk about it on my podcast, so stay tuned because it's a subject or subjects that are important to you and me. If you have any questions on business or mediation or taxation, send it to info at lodge, lodge-co.com. Again, that's info at lodge, lodge-co.com. I want everybody to go out and have a great day. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're rested and ready to go. It's a Monday. It's a beautiful sunny Monday here in South Carolina. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye. This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content. God bless you all.